Welcome to Franchise Spotlight, where we showcase unique franchise opportunities that give you the chance to build wealth, create a legacy, and take greater control of your future. Today, we're exploring Preservan, a franchise that restores wood windows, doors, siding, and decorative exterior wood at a fraction of replacement cost, and often within a single day. Let's put the spotlight on Preservan. I'm Scott Elliott, the founder of New Chapter Consulting, where I help professionals evaluate franchise opportunities and connect qualified individuals with the right brands. And my guest today is Ty McBride. He's the founder of Preservan. Ty grew up in the home building industry, and his hands-on restoration work on a historic Oklahoma City home became the foundation for the epoxy repair system Preservan now brings to owners across the country. Ty, glad to have you on the show today.
Hey, Scott. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Outstanding. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. Preservan, great name. What exactly does Preservan do?
Well, it's relatively simple, right? So if you own a property, it most likely has wood on it, and if it has wood on it, that wood is going to decay. And whether it's a window or a door or siding or columns or any kind of thing, right? Like it's going to decay, whether it's rot or termites. And when that happens, you're going to be faced with the challenge, which is how do I get this thing fixed? Now, the industry wants to give you replacement. What folks find is that costs a ton of money. It takes a lot of time. And we developed a way to fix that with an epoxy resin system. So it's an amazing way to repair. It is virtually invisible, and we back it with a 10-year warranty. So it's a really simple, just business model that's in high demand.
That's terrific. That's terrific. And one of the things, as I've continued to learn more and more about your brand over, the last year or so, I think about the mission you have, right? The mission behind this, like you said, replacement is big. I mean, I forget how many $1 billion industry window and door was it? 9 billion, something like that.
$9 billion. Yeah.
Yeah. So who buys the service? And what are some of the reasons beyond it's cheaper than replacement?
Yeah, for sure. So, the primary people, of course, homeowners, right? That's our property owners. That's the primary people. I think then you kind of go beyond that. Like, what do we see as like our largest segment of customers, if you will? And that's generally going to be folks with, I'd call like upper mid and luxury homes is going to be our primary sector. And the reason for that is going to be that they have character defining wood features on their house. So wood is not just a thing that's on their house, but it makes up why their house is beautiful, right? So they have, big, beautiful arched wood windows or an elaborate front door entry or patios or those kinds of things that really have a lot of character. They have a lot of detail. And the main, outside of money, and it's not just about money, because a lot of the folks we work for, it's not about money. It's about common sense. It's about that, there's this thought that you have when you find you go outside, you're in your flower bed or whatever, and you realize that you have a little bit of wood decay. It's no bigger than your fist. And then somebody comes out and tells you, oh, I got a problem. You go on the internet and you search and you go, okay, I'm going to call the window replacement company. The window replacement company comes out, looks at your house built in 1997, and they tell you, well, nobody makes that window anymore. And so we're going to have to, and we don't repair them. So you're going to have to get a whole new window. But there's a window right beside it. And if we get you a new window here, that window's not going to match. And so we got to get two windows. And actually, as we kind of go around the house, really, we just need to replace all of them. And before you know it, something that seemed like a really small problem to you turns in that your contractor of choice is wanting to turn it into a big problem. And they want to take you from a small thing to hey, how about we spend tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars? And it's not just about the amount of money. It's about the time. It's how about we disrupt your life? How about I send in 2 to 10 guys that you've never met that who knows what their backgrounds are, their smells are, whether or not they're going to smoke in my house. And let's just open up my house to the elements and disrupt my life for a few days. And a lot of people I don't want to pay the price, and I definitely don't want the disruption. And they're just desperate for there has got to be a different way. And that's where we step in with a different way.
Yeah. No, I everything about that message I love. And even I know when I've had windows replaced, there's also the lead time, right? The ordering of the lead time and it's it's a tricky thing. So no, that's great. So now you're an emerging brand. There are some franchises out there that not in your space, you're pretty unique. Some have, hundreds or thousands.
Right.
You've got about 20 or so franchisees nationwide, but from what I've seen, you have a really great family of owners.
Yeah.
Based on your success, because you started this yourself and then you franchised it. So based on your success, the success of your initial franchisees, what kind of person tends to thrive as a Preservan owner?
Yeah. What kind of person tends to thrive? I'll start by just kind of speaking to the first part of it is about kind of who becomes a franchisee or kind of our mission behind franchising. I never set out to be a franchisor. I didn't even know what franchising was when I went down this process, right? So I had this vision of we're very, me and my corporate team here, the team that started out in Oklahoma City, very mission driven. We had a mission and we had this vision that like, more people need this service than just in our backyard here in Oklahoma City. We think that this is a service that like every single homeowner needs. And so we're on this mission to make that happen. And so as we evaluated that mission, we thought to ourselves, one, to grow a business that's going to serve the demand that we believe is across the country, we need to have one vision, one mission, one goal to make this happen, because we're competing against, as you said earlier, like a $9 billion industry that spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year in marketing. And so the only way that we're going to disrupt the replacement industry is by having a unified voice. So we got to have a unified voice to make this work. But
Sure.
Two, I am a firm believer that the best businesses are locally owned. The best businesses are locally owned because those are people, because I say we don't have customers, we have neighbors. The local owned business owner is the person who serves his neighbor or her neighbor. And so it's okay. One voice, local ownership. How do we make that happen? And that's how I stumbled into franchising. Like that was our franchising answer. And so for us, we always visioned it as like building a business together because we want to partner with these individuals. They bring valuable skills. And one of my favorite parts about franchising is, of course, I don't think about like selling it, and we don't sell franchises. I don't even really think about awarding it either. I think about partnering with people. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is I look across our amazing team of owners. These are individuals that, if we would have gone to corporate, I could have never afforded this caliber of talent, right? Like this is, from somebody who taught at OU with an MBA in marketing, to have on your team to give you additional insights to marketing strategies, to somebody who's Six Sigma certified that's worked in some of the most major bottling plants in the country to take a look at your systems and processes and give you advice. Like these types of individuals, like they would cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in consulting fees and millions upon millions of dollars in payroll. And that's the kind of, that we've been able to develop is when we look at recruiting through that lens. And so who's successful with us? I think is the actual question you asked.
It's a big part of it. Yes.
Yeah. What I found is it's not about a person's ability to sell. We figured out that, if you buy into our mission, that's the most important part. If you buy into our mission, what we believe, what we are out to achieve, you never have to sell anything a day in your life. All you got to do is talk about what you believe in. Then that part is easy. So if I make sure we recruit people and people who sign on just believe in what we believe, the selling part is easy. So I tell people, like, don't worry about it if you don't have a sales background. Could you get out there and talk about something you're passionate about? If the answer is yes, then this can make sense. So that's one. The other side of it is I don't really need somebody who knows how to do this. Nobody knows how to do this. I don't even need a person to know anything about construction whatsoever. That's not important. We can train you to do all that. But the one thing I can't train somebody to do in as fast as we have a vision to grow is I can't train leadership. So what I always look for is individuals who have a background in leadership. And the way I like to think about it is people who have led others to do real things. And it doesn't need to be a huge team. It can be 3 or 4 or 5. It can be 100, like my friend in Columbus, Ohio, who's our owner there. It doesn't have to be huge teams. You have to have led people to like accomplish something. And so I love people with engineering backgrounds who've worked with teams of engineers. I love project managers, operations people, people in manufacturing that have led a team. Those are the people that I find are most successful. If they're on mission, they got a leadership background. I think that we can show them how to serve their community, serve their neighbors, and build a successful business.
No, all those are great points. I think about leadership. I spend a lot of time personally in the with people who come from the tech space, many from the tech sales background.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've spent much time with people like that, but when you're in a large enterprise tech selling environment, you have these large informal teams. You don't have org chart authority of these people, but you do have a tremendous amount of influence in, being a quarterback of people who don't report to you, but need to work with you.
Yeah.
Is that type of leadership valuable as well in your type of
Absolutely.
concept?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great point because, actually I think that when you have to lead people and get people to work through to accomplish a project and they aren't your employees, I think that is some of the hardest levels of leadership to accomplish. Sure. As somebody who's been a general contractor in my previous life, like getting somebody to help you execute a project, but you're not in charge of what time they show up. You're not in charge of how quickly, like there's some limitations. That's a really awesome skill. One that's like comes to mind for us inside of our organization as our Birmingham location, one of our top performing locations. But early on when I looked at that owner's background, her background did not have any professional leadership. Heck, she'd been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 to 14 years. Her husband, Greek Orthodox priest, she had kind of traveled with him from parish to parish. And of course, I think it being a mom, right? Like there's a lot of leadership that goes into
there. Yeah,
to being a
100%.
mom. But also through her work inside the church, because there's leadership in, smaller churches, in these organizations, these nonprofits, leadership of volunteers. Like these are not direct reports. These are people that can come and go, and you don't have money to inspire. Like you only have the belief in the institution that is going to get these people to organize with you. And so that's another, leadership isn't always like a clear cut. Like I've had X number of direct reports, but we can, I've learned to kind of ask those deeper questions because that is something that's going to be really critical to, I think, anybody's success in business if you're going to be building a team.
100%. Yeah, I appreciate the perspective on that. Let's talk a bit about the ownership model. So we talked about some of the criteria for what makes for a good Preservan owner.
Yeah.
But what does it look like? I mean, in the world of franchising, I know that you've all about this now. There's some out there that are like, we want only owner operator. We want only, executive model, manage the manager. Some people throw around terms that I think are mythical, like passive and semi-absentee. But what type of owner, what type of time commitment does a new franchisee need to be prepared for? And what do they need to be doing when they launch their Preservan?
Yeah, that's
franchise?
good. I think in our organization, what we find has been the most direct line to success is going to be a owner operator, fully involved in the business. That is, for me, our model's built around that. I guess that's all I can say is our model's just built around that because it's built around working with men and women like myself who really want to just go all in and serve their community. That's part of our ethos. And so for us, that's what works. Now, what I love though, is when those owners over maybe 6 months, over maybe a year, start to, as is often said in business circles, work on their business, not in their business. And that is my favorite thing, to help an owner go from I'm in the field every single day, not so much that I'm doing the work, but I'm right with my technician. We're locked arms and I'm really inspecting their work and I'm highly engaged with the sales process. As they grow outside of that to building their team of technicians, to putting a lead technician in place so that they can then step out of that day-to-day of the technical work and know that they've got a team that's taking care of that. They utilize the systems to do quality control without actually having to show up to the job through a photo sharing software and our routing software. That they are that they teach their technicians how to support them in a sales process. And then ultimately the ones that are my favorite, that do an amazing job, is they build into having a territory manager, somebody who's going to run that B2C side of the business, that regular residential work, so they can grow beyond and they can tap into new markets in their area through whether that's property managers, real estate agents, or commercial contractors that focus on historic preservation work. These like larger opportunities, they can build into that and start building out a broader team and a broader customer base.
Yeah, yeah. Now, thank you for mentioning, not to take too much of a detour, but you mentioned historic preservation.
Yeah.
And this was one of the things that fascinated me when I was first studying your brand. Talk to us about what kind of unique role, kind of niche service you offer in the historic preservation world.
Yeah, this is such a fun one. So, of course, like the go-to-market strategies, regular residential, any house built before the year 2000, open game. Like we're gonna have a lot of fun getting those houses fixed and repaired, and that's how you get the engine pumping. But then when you want to take that next step, historic preservation is this huge opportunity, one that I've spent a lot of time in my professional life in, and I like to just like share that playbook with our franchisees. Is that there are millions of dollars spent every single year on historic preservation. So there's two layers of this. Layer one is the residential side. So there are, throughout the country, there are what they call certified local governments. And these are communities, towns, like Oklahoma City is one of them. And almost every major city has one or more. And so these are communities that have adopted historic preservation guidelines and standards for certain designated areas. And so this can be a series of neighborhoods. In Oklahoma City, we have like 7 or 8 neighborhoods, each with a few hundred households, that are following a very, very strict guidelines on their exterior. So if they have siding, if they have windows, if they have doors, to replace them is almost impossible. They all have to be repaired, and they have some pretty strict guidelines of repairing them. This is something that our brand and our service is automatically qualified for. And so our franchisees are able to cut through the red tape and help these homeowners out with problems that nobody generally in their market is able to do. So that's one portion of it. So that's the residential side of it, really fun. But then there's that next step. And that next step is the commercial space. So when you look at it, what there is across the country, the United States, we have historic preservation tax credits. And so if you own a commercial property that is income producing, you can get this listed, and then you can tap into tax credits. But to get these tax credits, and they're both state and federal, to get these, you have to follow those guidelines again. And we meet those guidelines. And we meet those guidelines better than our competitors because we're less expensive and we're faster to do. And so we're just a great fit for that. And so what we see across the country is all of these opportunities of these projects. And so we're working on one in Oklahoma City right now. It's a historic mansion that's owned by our state. And so we're going to be doing that project. But franchisees have done all kinds of like amazing projects, from one-room schoolhouses to like historic downtown buildings to like Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthplace, like all kinds of like cool stuff that this taps into. And so it's just this really like awesome niche that you can get in. And another really fun thing about it is that it's really, there's a really pretty clear way that we can show you, like, here's the things that you do to get in front of these individuals. It is a little bit of playing a long game because these projects often take, it takes 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years from to fully come to fruition. So it's one of those things like, you just got to start now and see what comes in.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating because, like you said, it's not your bread and butter, but it's franchising in general is a long game, right? You're making a long-term commitment to a brand, so you want a long-term plan. So the quick wins are those residential wins.
Mhm.
You start building out your network with like you said, property managers, realtors, construction folks,
Yeah.
and then add in this layer of this. It's really like a blue ocean, it seems, of opportunity in that historic preservation. So really multiple layers to be able to grow out a nice business, which I think is fantastic.
That's right.
So yeah. Now, how does a Preservan franchisee get customers? Do you need to have that MBA in marketing so you know how to go? Like, what do you need to do to what's their sales and marketing effort? What support do they have along the way?
Yeah, I always tell folks we have I believe in a 50-50 model, right? So 50% of it, we've got a tried and true playbook that we'll turn on for you, and it does a really great job of producing kind of a baseline drumbeat of revenue. There are just in every single market that I'm aware of, there are just countless homeowners that are sitting on the fence that have right now a problem on their house, on their building, and they are ready for an alternative. And we know how to generate leads in that space, primarily with Facebook, Instagram, and now ChatGPT and Gemini. So we do this phenomenal job of generating leads in that space. And that generates that like residential drumbeat. You don't really have to worry about it much. And it does a great job of like getting you started early. That is one of my favorite things because, cash is king, cash is oxygen. Getting your business turning fast, that's the thing. We turn on the ads, and in most of the markets, leads just start flowing in and we start filling your calendar. What do you have to do yourself? Well, that's the other 50%, right? You want to take every single one of those leads that we've generated through the digital platforms that we paid for, and you want to multiply those efforts, right? And that's what you have to do at the local level, whether you're multiplying them through the basics like yard signs and door hangers and direct mail. So there's those multiplication efforts, but then there's also the multiplication efforts like we were just talking about, taking that and then getting in front of realtors and doing lunch and learns, getting in front of property managers and doing those lunch and learns, getting in front of architects that specialize in historic preservation, same thing. Like those elements that you have to do at the local level. We provide you the playbook, but you got to go execute it.
Okay, that's great. So 50-50. I was thinking as you were saying that maybe it's 49.9 and 49.9, and then 0.2% could be like, product placement on
that's right.
On podcasts,
Yeah,
I see
that's it. That's it.
Appreciate all the swag that you've provided through the years. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's some good stuff, right? So no, that's a great story. And I think that really is important because, like you said, anybody starting a business, the question is, how soon am I going to get paying clients? How quickly can I be doing that? So, and not everybody. I'm one of these people. I am not a fan of managing the digital space, the digital ad space. I've been on the platforms a long time, but if you told me my job was to, spend 2-3 hours a day driving ads and engaging on social media, I don't know how long I'd last, right? But so I love that you guys handle that piece of it, and then let the owners handle.
Yeah. The other side of that too is this just goes back to that kind of my concept of built together business. Is the fun side of that is when everybody is once again on mission, doing the same thing. We all know that like data is king, right? Like data, and the more customer data you can collect, the better you can advertise, and that is the fun thing about like every location on the digital side, kind of running that same playbook, executing it the same way, all of that data flowing into one CRM house that we can then analyze it, distribute lookalike audiences, retargeting things. And so like locations are learning off of one another, and we're able to feed information so when you open up in a place that we've never been, Meta knows when we start running our ads, because it's all connected to our parent account, like Meta knows, like we can feed it that information and go, like, this is what works. This is who we're looking for. This is who says yes. And they know like how to find that customer profile in that new market. And that stuff is just like, it's beyond my like full understanding, but I know it works. I see it every time we open a new location. So I love that side of it. Where you're not having to like try to figure all this stuff out on your own and test things out on your own. We've got that side of it covered for you.
No, that's terrific. So what does a typical day look like for someone running a Preservan business? You're the owner. You're in your first. Let's say you're in your first 6 months. What does
Yeah.
your typical day look like?
Your typical day, you're going to start off in the morning, sometime around 7:30. Do a Google Meet with your team. That's my favorite way. Just we call it the daily huddle, right? You're just going to check in
Mhm.
with everybody, weather and traffic. Where are we going? What are we doing? What do we need? You're going to check in with your team. You're going to open up your calendar inside of our software, and you're going to see what appointments have been scheduled for you by our contact center. And that's to me the first thing. You're going to hit your appointments that we've scheduled, your assessments. You're going to go out and do assessments. While you're out there doing assessments, you're going to be dropping in as the route allows with your team out there in the field doing the work, checking in, quality control, meeting the neighbor, meeting the customers, hanging out some door hangers, dropping yard signs. Like that's just going to be kind of the day. And that's going to run until, usually I think, most of our locations have their last appointment somewhere around 4:30 or 5, and then they're going to head on back. The way that we've got our system set up, our quoting method is really simple. So you're not going home to quote, your quotes are done. You're not going home to send follow-up emails because our CRM automates all that stuff. You're
Okay.
going home. Like that's now, if you're in Atlanta, that's another hour in traffic. But you're headed
true.
home and
Right.
you're done for the day.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like for most. And then most are going to be, their additional efforts in that first 6 months are going to be reaching out, LinkedIn, Instagram, those property managers, those real estate agents. You might be grabbing some networking events and trying to land a lunch and learn. And so that's going to just kind of be the flow of the day for that first 6 months to a year.
Okay. No, that's great. Thanks for laying that out. Because sometimes it's hard to visualize when you think of starting a business. Okay, I'm the owner. What does that mean? What am I doing? So that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a minute about the market and growth potential. Again, you're just getting started. You've got this giant replacement market that you have under as your target, and you have you beat it on character, on price, on mission, right? Because restoration beats replacement and waste. Not filling a landfill. So you've got all these great advantages in the message. So how would you describe the size of the opportunity that you're building in? Like, is this really a sky's the limit kind of thing? Does someone need to say, if I really want to make this a business, I'm going to have to be prepared to invest in 4, 5, or 6 territories? Like, what's your sense on that?
Yeah, it always comes down to personal financial goals and personal time that you want to commit. So all those things, but what we see is that for most of the individuals that we work with, and these are usually most of our owners are either near retirement or they're either mid-career. They're mid-career exits. I always say we got two. You got mission-driven millennials that join, and then we usually have what I call second half dads. Dads that are wanting to start a business with their son or daughter. Those are kind of our two groups. So most of those are looking for some sort of hey, I actually want to put money in the bank. It's important to me that there's a timeline of where I'm able to put money in the bank and continue my financial growth. So for that, what we see is 2 to 3 territories is what a lot of those folks are locking in on. We have exceptions on both sides. Some people do more, and I was talking about our Birmingham location, one of our top performing locations, one territory. Sometimes just things just come together, but that's kind of that 2 to 3 is where a lot of people want to land so they can really build a really good business. And for most of your mid-market cities, so I'm in Oklahoma City, we're plus or minus 3 territories. We might be, I haven't fully mapped it out, but it's 2 or 3. So if you think about kind of those kind of cities, those cities are around a million, give or take, you're looking at somewhere between 2 and 3 territories for that area.
Okay. No, that's great. Thank you. Let's take a minute and talk about some of the risks and a little bit about business resilience, right? So again, you're a new franchise concept, just a few years old, but you've been running this business for a while yourself. So when you see the broader economy slowing down, what happens to your business? Or what do you see when it comes to digital disruption or AI type disruption? Any risks, what would you call out there?
I don't want to be too bold here, but we are in a unique position that, definitely anytime there's disruption in the economy, all business slows, like, right? But we slow less because we're less expensive. Like, we're an alternative to the more expensive option. So when interest rates are through the roof and it's costing you significantly extra to borrow money to replace all those windows, or the Pella window dealer or that window dealer's not giving you those sweet 0% deals, we make more sense because you don't have to go in debt. Our average ticket's $2,500. Nobody's going in debt. They're swiping their credit card to get points. That's what they're doing here. So so it's not that kind of thing. If it's a seller's market, we're great. Like, we're great as a seller market. We're great when it's a buyer's market. Like, it's one of those things that just because of the position we're in, and then when it's all good, everybody's good. So that's never, if everything's up, we're up too. But when people are down, we're more level. And then as far as like technology disruptions, the good news is, and this is almost anything home service, technology improvements only improve a home service business is committed to growing with technology, because there's no way out there that rot repair gets disrupted by AI. Like, that's not happening. And that's really true for about any home service business. There's no way that AI is truly going to disrupt us. What AI and technology does is, for those organizations that are committed to it, it just superpowers your growth. We're a young brand of young employees and young owners, and we're just kind of committed to that stuff. Like, we built our business in the age of AI, and so we watch that stuff. Like, I got a dashboard where I watch our AI optimization scores and things like that. So we're paying attention to these things. We're early adopters on ChatGPT ads and those kinds of things. So for us, it just makes life easier through automations and different things that you can do. So I think that's the only thing I would think of as a franchisee, someone who's evaluating a franchise, is not that whether or not in a home service space, not whether or not AI is going to take the demand for my business. It's whether or not the organization I'm working with is going to grow with the technology. Because if they're not going to grow with the technology, somebody out there is. And that's another fun thing about what we do. These big organizations, these big replacement companies, they'll have way more money than we do. They're also super slow to adopt things because of the bureaucracy of them. And so we can go a little bit faster at these things than they can, and then kind of disrupt them a little bit quicker than they're planning when you look at different AI adoptions and things like that.
Yeah. No, it's a great outlook on how to leverage AI. And I agree with you. It's a beautiful thing when you have a business that AI can't do. Right? AI cannot repair a window. It can't, lay out the epoxy, can't do the work. Right. But, to your point, who's going to win more market share are those who are more nimble in adopting the AI or the digital marketing effort.
That's right.
So very good. Well done. I like that. Let's talk about the investment for a few minutes. This is a mobile service model, right? There's no brick and mortar. So you're at the lower end of an investment spectrum for home services brands. But using your FDD numbers, obviously, like what should a candidate expect to invest, one of your candidates for a Preservan territory, to get their territory up and running?
For single territory.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for single territory, 117 on the low end, 185 on the high end. I always tell people kind of go mid to high, because that's just the best chance of success. And also the way that we kind of frame out our range, because I always hate, like, why is there a range? Why is there a $70,000 range from this FDD to that FDD? Ours is kind of intentional. It's built around kind of like, how do you want to open? Do you want to open up low end, one vehicle on the road? Or do you really want to kind of own the market and you want to capitalize for 2 or maybe 3? That's our range, is kind of that. And so that's kind of what our startup is. We do see project costs coming in, going back to that multi-unit. People of course, they go higher when they go multi-unit, but it's not a multiple. That's what I love. Like, cause you're not going to take the 150 or 185 and go like, hey, I want 3 territories. So I just like tripled my expense. Like, that's not how it works. you scale into these things while having just more territory to serve.
Okay. No, that's good. So that's dollar investment. And thank you for, sticking to your disclosure document numbers. That's perfect. What about like calendar weeks? Let's say a franchisee signs the franchise agreement. They're excited to get started. Like roughly, I know a lot of things can impact this, but roughly, what are you seeing for how long to get up, running, and servicing your first job?
So we have a pretty strict structured method here that we've seen that works. It's about 9 weeks. About 9 weeks, you're going to go from signature to getting your first appointment and starting your first job. What that mainly looks like is we spend 7 weeks doing kind of preparation work. So this is going to be kind of all the business admin, setup, training, all those things, mostly done this way on group calls and our cohort calls and all the other things. We've got a 1 week dedicated technical training done here at our corporate location in Oklahoma City. We start running ads. We kind of reverse engineer this and we say, hey, this is the day we want to open, the day they're going to be back from training. We start running ads usually 30 to 45 days prior to that Monday they get back.
Interesting.
So by the time they get back, we should have a full calendar of appointments. They go home. Typical closing rates somewhere, in the 40 to 50% in those early stages, sometimes even higher. And so they're picking up a handful of jobs, and their technician is usually on job number one on the ninth week.
Nice. Okay, good. And again, no guarantees. Everybody's, mileage may vary and all that, but thank you for sharing the range, right? I mean, this is the expectation, is what you're building for, and I think that's terrific. So that's good. Now, here's a question I like to ask. I just from your perspective, especially as the founder, let's help the audience understand why you think this is an attractive business beyond the mission, beyond the market opportunity, right? What are some of the underlying fundamentals of the business? Whether that's, recurring revenue, repeat business, low inventory, labor advantage, like it could be anything. There could just be business fundamentals that you've structured your strategy around. What are the fundamentals of your model that make it a good business?
So I would definitely say the scalability side of it. The model is just relatively simple. It's really easy. I can just easily conceptualize how I'm going to grow, how I'm going to put this business together, what things I need to do. That, and then I think that it's not a reoccurring service, of course, right? Like we don't have reoccurring revenue. We do a lot of repeat neighbors, repeat customers. That is a huge part of our business. And the reason for that is that this is a fact of life. There is nothing you can do about it. Like death and taxes, rot grows on trees. Like it is an organic material and you can't stop it. And
there it is.
Wood rots. Yes. And so, and it's just going to happen. And there's, like I said, there's no stopping it. And so the demand is, as long as people put wood on their houses, or until they take all the wood that they've already put on their houses, because that's the other side of it. It's not really about what they're going to build in the future. We've got millions upon millions of houses that already have gone this far. So it's just like an untapped. It's like you said, it's blue ocean. You're just out there. And the other side of it is that it's not that we don't have competition. We do have competition, but we don't have competition to doing what we're doing. It's like, our competition is a replacement company that's charging tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're the only one doing it this way.
So Ty, as we close out here, let's leave candidates, people who are prospective, franchisees of Preservan. Let's leave them with something to hold on to. What's one thing that you'd want somebody who's considering a Preservan franchise to remember about your concept?
Well, man, that's really great. I think if there was one thing that I wanted somebody to remember about our concept, it's our mission, right? Like because I just want people who believe in the mission to join the mission. And if you don't believe in it, there's awesome other things for a person to do. Like that's just and I'm excited for you to go do those other things, right? And our mission is we save the future by preserving the past. Like that's the one thing. Because even if you don't want to buy into Preservan as a business opportunity, I want you to remember that's a really valuable mission to have in the way that you live your life, right? That we're not the only you can fix things. You can make things last longer. Another thing that we often say, you held up my little, our koozie is repair is a radical act, right? Like those things are really important for our culture, for our environment, and for our business. And so that's the one thing I would want a person to remember about Preservan.
That's great. So there's no way to prove this, but I made a bet with myself as to what your answer would be to this. And I thought to myself, it's going to be the mission, because I think it genuinely is really important to you. It came through when we met in person, several months ago, and every time I've seen you speak about it. So no, thank you. Ty, I really appreciate you're giving us an overview, a look inside, and it's really special that it comes from the founder of the business. So, you got a lot of heart for this, a lot of passion. So thank you for taking time with me today.
Scott, I really appreciate being here. Thank you, man.
Roughly 40 million homes in the U.S. have wood windows and doors, and a growing number of governments and agencies are actively working to preserve historic homes. Preservan sits right in the middle of these market forces. They give homeowners a way to keep their home's character intact at a fraction of the cost of replacement, which means a compelling ROI for those homeowners. And this combination of real demand and a compelling value proposition, plus a mission to reduce waste, this is why Preservan deserves a closer look. Now, franchisors like Preservan see a steady inbound interest, and they move fastest with candidates who show up prepared and have done the work before their first conversation. That preparation is where I come in. Together, we can confirm whether this is genuinely the right fit for you. We can get clear on your financial position and get you ready for a serious conversation with the brand. If you're a strong match and believe that Preservan is worth exploring, I'll personally make the introduction myself. Book a no-cost 20-minute call and start the conversation the right way. I'm Scott Elliott, and this has been another episode of Franchise Spotlight.